Welcome back, everybody, to Media Made Me here on the Brazilian Dragon podcast. In this series, we explore how entertainment establishes identity and personality. And my name is Felipe. I am the titular Brazilian Dragon. And today I am joined by a very special guest. The common folk may know him from Survivor 42, but the real ones know him from episode 148 of the Brazilian Dragon podcast, where he talked all about Marvel in 2022 with me. It is my good friend, Daniel Strunk. Daniel, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Felipe. And if you go back and listen to that podcast, we were, I think, a bit ahead of the curve with the commentary on the MCU. Our predictions were, I think we were correct then, but they've become even more true over the last year and a half.
I think so too. I remember I was like cautiously optimistic about Quantumania. I left that movie theater. It is my bottom 2 Marvel movie. It might be bottom 1. I don't know. I was not a fan. And the things I liked about it have not aged well.
For the first time, I have not finished a Marvel Cinematic Universe property. Not that I will go back to it and eventually finish it, but I just didn't get through Secret Invasion.
I haven't even started the new season of Loki.
Yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes and I was like, I can do other things right now.
You can double speed that show if you need to. I don't know if you watch things on faster speeds, but I know you listen to things on faster speeds. But
I do. I have a new rule though that I only go up to 1.5x, and if I
for anything or just for all visual media,
just for podcasts actually, I only go up to 1.5. For visual media, unless it's YouTube, I'm usually at 1. If it's YouTube, I might go to 1.5. But my rule with podcasts is only do 1.5 because if you are trying to fit in more podcasts than that, then you just should probably listen to less. Unless it's Felipe, then never cut his podcast from your stream.
Thank you. Oh, I appreciate that so much. No, I am trying to pull back on my podcast listening slowly. I am like a 2xer right now. But I also think that I was messaging Grace recently and I was like, Grace, there's so many podcasts and I feel like I have had this 5-year goal of cleaning out my podcast queue without having to delete episodes. And then I end up deleting episodes that I don't listen to. And Grace is like, I gave up on that years ago. Grace from Post Show Recaps. And I was just it can be overwhelming, but it's also okay, I'm trying to learn what I actually care to listen to.
Yeah.
Because for a while it was okay, I'm going to prioritize the things that if I died in a car accident while listening to this podcast, would I be upset or not that I chose this podcast over another one?
That's a very good test, I guess, but that's a dark test.
I have a much nicer version of that with restaurants. It's get what I couldn't get at another restaurant is usually what I stress out about. But
that's good.
I don't know.
A good idea. Yeah.
It's a lot of I think we're oversaturated with content, and then also I have ADHD, so it's I want to get to as many things as possible so I can enjoy all these shows that are out there that I feel I need to watch. But there's always going to be another show that I want to watch, another movie that I'm going to want to watch. And I just have to embrace the fact that one day I'm going to die and I'm not going to watch everything that I want to watch.
Yeah,
hopefully that's many years from now.
Well, if you consider all the stuff that was produced before you even came into being, you've got all of Shakespeare, all of the classics. You've got 50 gazillion things you're never going to get around to. So just accept the futility and only pick and choose, I guess, is the way to look at it.
It's just so hard because everything's accessible now. And there's just it's such a weird time. But I also think we're at a turning point with the industry. We don't have to get into my entertainment, Hollywood prognosticating. This is about you, not about Hollywood.
Okay.
So let's take it back. First off, since we last spoke, was that the last podcast or public appearance you've done in any capacity?
I think so. I pretty much stay off the radar. I enjoy my privacy and whatnot.
But tell the people what you've been up to. It's been a couple of fun updates since we've last spoken. I think that was February.
Yeah, it's been a monumental year. I took a new job. I got a dog. Most importantly, I married the love of my life. And the two of us moved to Plymouth, Michigan. So that's been fun. And we're doing the home ownership thing. If you look behind me in the video, you can see the Rivendell Lego set. That was my honeymoon Lego from the honeymoon registry. And it's been a very good couple of months. I'd say we moved here in mid-June, and when people ask me how I'm doing, I say that life is good and boring, which is kind of what I am. That is a nice change of pace. I think some folks enjoy. I don't know. I'm not one to want to be. I guess I didn't thrive off the public nature of the Survivor experience. So I'm enjoying basically being off the radar and living a very boring life where I go to Taekwondo 2 to 3 times a week and no one has any clue that I was on national TV a few years ago, or my work. Like the word hasn't gotten out, so it's kind of nice. It's been enjoyable.
That's refreshing, I'm sure, especially because you were at your last job when you were on the show, so it's probably like something that was like a big part of your identity for the last year and a half while you were there before you transitioned to your new role in finance.
I like it. I should say I like adventure. Don't get me wrong. It's why I went on the show to begin with. It's why I've done adventurous things in my life. But I'm not like a keep it high octane adventure 24/7. Like you need to have some like a sine curve. Life needs to go up and down every once in a while. And so I'm enjoying a down period of just relaxation and harmony here in good old suburban Plymouth, Michigan. But yeah, I took a new job in. I work in finance now. I shouldn't get into the details of that because believe it or not, like when you're in finance, you have to get pre-cleared with the compliance department to like talk about any which thing with for good reasons. There's so many like regulations and laws governing the financial industry. But luckily there is no regulation or law that says that you can't discuss with a good friend your favorite movies and TV shows and
Absolutely
things of
not.
that nature.
No, we gotta chat about all these things, and I'm so excited. Also, while you were talking about the Rivendell Lego set, I did have to I did a double take because like Daniel watches Riverdale, and then I was like, oh no, Lord of the Rings. Okay, I was like, that does not seem like a show you would be into.
I watched 1 or 2. I can't remember why. I think it was covered on post show recaps or somewhere, and I listened to an episode, and so I watched an episode of the show. It didn't stick, but like to each their own. I know it's probably not for me, is how I would put it.
No, that's valid, and I could see why you would dabble into it. Besides the fact that there's a podcast associated with it, for sure. Like I feel like because we'll talk about it, I'm sure, but you like comic strips, and maybe you might dabble into the Archie sphere, but.
I made the mistake though. For anyone listening to this who's like beginning to delve into comics, I made I think critical error of purchasing all of the comics that I ever read on the app that was used. I forget the name of it. It's like gone defunct, and so I technically can get all my comics somehow that I purchase because I purchased them. I have a right to them, I guess. But like, I don't know how to go about getting them from the one app I purchased them on to my. So basically, if you're listening to this and you're about to like delve into comics, just go physically buy them. It's much better. They can't go away. I thought at the time when I was young and I was like traveling around and hiking around or whatever, that it was cool to have every comic under the sun on my iPad. But what's not cool is when they all disappear. So just go physically buy them if you have the money to spare.
Yeah, digital media is stressful because if it disappears, then you don't know what to do with it. Like every time I get a new laptop, even if I don't intend to listen to it in the next year, I always email Rob and ask him to reset my Evolution of Strategy links just so I can download them and have a backup. Like I have my codes somewhere, like so I can always get them reset.
Yeah. Good stuff. That's smart. That's very smart. I wonder if I think that TOS unfortunately has gone the way of the dodo bird, but I would like it to come back at some point. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I don't think you're the only one who's probably not keeping up with Survivor these days. So maybe not.
Yeah.
But let's go way back. So what is your first memory with media, if you have one?
Gosh,
I'm sure you have one. I think everyone has one.
I remember. First memory, I don't know if this is the very first one, but I do remember the first time that I remember distinctly right before we went to the movie theater to see Star Wars A New Hope when they had re-released them. So they had re-released the Star Wars they were re-releasing each one at a time, and my mom just decided I'll bring Danny to go see this. I was known by I went by Danny K through 12, and I just
your
remember
brother called you Danny at your premiere, and I was like,
oh yeah. I remember going to see that and having my mind blown. That's probably a very standard one for people of my generation. That was like our introduction, And I remember when episode 2 came out, I had baseball practice. So I became a huge Star Wars fan from that experience. And then the prequels came out, and I was psyched for every prequel. And when episode 2 came out, I had baseball practice that day the day it came out. And my parents are like old school, where they think like if you commit to a thing, you go to all the
Stick it
things.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for the life of me, I tried every tool in my rhetorical toolkit. My underdeveloped rhetorical toolkit is like fourth grade. I forget what grade I was in, but I could not convince my mom to let me go see. But I saw it as soon as I possibly could after that baseball practice, Attack of the Clones, and I actually really enjoyed it at the time. I know the prequels have had like a renaissance, and rightly so. I think I think they're more appreciated now for their creativity compared to the sequel trilogy. But so I have like distinct memories of Star Wars. I have distinct memories of like certain movies, like during the Christmas time. We talked about wanting to talk about Christmas, but like the Santa Claus, Jingle All the Way, and gosh, what are some of the others? This is totally right, but Good Burger, man, I have like
Have you
distinct
seen
memories
Good
of
Burger
watching
2 yet?
Good Burger constantly with my brother on a loop. We loved Good Burger. I've seen half of it.
Okay.
I didn't. It's not that I quit halfway through. I just had to stop because of Thanksgiving, like dinner,
Yeah.
like it wasn't right before dinner, but Thanksgiving festivities, and so I haven't finished it yet. But I did enjoy the first half, and I love the OG Good Burger.
Did you watch it with your brother for the Thanksgiving festivities?
I didn't, and I should have. And he actually works in a like fast food-esque industry. He doesn't work for any particular fast food brand, but he works for like a company that owns a lot of franchises. And so like I think it would be funny to watch the Good Burger sequel with him. Which maybe I should do when I go see him in I think I'm scheduled late December to go see him. So that's a good idea, Felipe. Thanks for recommending that. But
and he's your older brother by how many years?
18 months.
18 months. So you're
Yeah.
close in age. So I'm sure like a lot of the stuff that you're talking about is like things that you would watch together.
Oh yeah. Yeah, very much so. Very much so. And then I think, there's the classic like Disney movies. I can't remember. I don't remember I don't remember things, but I have been told things. So I've been told, for example, that when I started saying randomly to my parents or my babysitter or whatever when I was a little kid, single digits, "Go away, leave me alone," which I guess is a line from the Jungle Book that I had picked up on, and they're like, "Where did he get this from?" But it wasn't that I wanted people to actually go away and leave me alone. I was just like repeating the line that was in the Jungle Book. And then I guess my mom took me to see Snow White, and when they did there's some song, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a kind of like marching chant or something.
Hi ho.
Hi ho. Oh, hi ho. Yes.
Yeah.
I got out of my movie seat at like the age of 5 or 6 and started like marching up and down the aisle of the movie theater to the hi ho song. And I don't know if I was saying hi ho, but I was like, she had to run and get me and bring me back in my movie theater seat. So I don't remember this at all, but I've heard about this. So those are maybe some very like the earliest of early influences of media on me.
I was a big Jungle Book kid also.
Yeah.
So that's a fun movie. I'm sure you didn't watch the Jungle Cubs, which was like the prequel series of all the.
No.
I watched that in Portuguese. That's probably why I picked up Portuguese a lot better than my brother, because I would watch media in Portuguese. But you grew up like during the Disney Renaissance also, which is exciting. Did you see any of those like 90s Disney movies in theaters?
I'm sure I did, but they must not. I hate to say it, but I don't really remember any of them. They must not have left a super duper indelible mark on me, or I was just too young to have anything register in my memory. But like, I think I know I loved Aladdin, for example. That's like a no brainer. But that's the only one that really like I know for sure I really really loved.
Yeah, and then I know you just recently, I don't know if you're finished it yet, but the Pixar rewatch, did you like watch Toy Story when they were first
I have a story about that. So we paused, like hardcore paused, but it's not for any bad reason. It's
what movie broke you? Be honest. No.
It was when Mo and I watched Up, years ago, not years ago, because we've known each other for 5+ years, but I think like 2 years into the relationship, we watched Up, and she had never seen it and I had seen it, and they did the intro monologue that is famous from Up, and I like broke down during that, and she was like, "What is going on?" I don't think she put two and two together that like the little girl ended up being his wife. I don't think but anyway, she's like, "What is happening to Daniel?" So then when we did the Pixar rewatch, we got all the way up until Up was the next one. And then I think we mutually just like informally, without saying it, agreed like to not continue because we didn't want to watch out. We didn't want to like go through that again. So which probably would resonate even more now because like I'm now married to her and we have we discussed the possibility of kids on the horizon and all that sort of thing. So like we're not in a mental state.
Well, your parents already. You have a dog going back to Star Wars, not Starbucks.
Oh yeah. Our dog is named our mini Bernedoodle. The official name is Admiral Akbark, and it is official because that's the name on the pet insurance and the name at the veterinarian. So official, but she goes by, Mo calls her Addie, and I call her Addie most of the time when she's barking at me and keeping me awake and biting. She's going through a teething phase and bites everything.
That I was gonna say fun, but I've actually never been through that. I've never owned a pet. Did you have a pet as a kid or no?
I had a dog named Strudel who was a Cocker Spaniel, who my mom mostly took care of and was she was a wonderful dog and a fantastic pet when I was a kid, but dumb as a bag of rocks and would not get housebroken for like a year. So it was a uphill battle for my poor mother. Trying to housebreak Strudel was the name of the dog.
Dumb dogs are very fun, but also very annoying.
Yeah.
My aunt has a dog named Buddy, and he's so sweet, but so stupid.
Yeah. The name that lost out, by the way, for what it's worth, just to get this on the record, we ended up doing Admiral Akbar, but the close second that Mo vetoed, and to this day I think would have been a great name, and maybe could be dog number 2's name, was Ranch. We almost went with Ranch after the dressing, not the like entity, not the geographic entity. Favorite salad dressing would have been wonderful, but she didn't have enough.
Favorite condiment?
Ooh, probably. It probably is my favorite condiment. Either that or, yeah, I think ranch or probably like ketchup to be basic. But ketchup is so adaptable on so many things.
I feel like I've grown to appreciate ranch since moving to LA. I don't know why. Like I didn't mind it, but I didn't like it wasn't something as common. Now I like ask for ranch on the side very often.
Oh yeah.
So so the Disney movies, were there any like other animated content like shows or movies that you grew up on before?
I mean, I grew up on a lot of Nickelodeon shows. So SpongeBob, Hey Arnold, Rocket Power, Rugrats.
The hits.
Yeah, I think Hey Arnold was my favorite. Even to this day, I mean, I haven't seen Hey Arnold in a long, long time, but like, I still remember the Stoop Kid episode. I still remember that I think it's is it the pilot episode where he dances so much that he scares the bully away or something? I remember these weird episodes. So I loved Hey Arnold. And then I like starting around would have been middle school going into high school. I was in the TiVo era. I don't know if anyone younger than me, they might have just missed this, but the TiVo era. Yeah, like TiVo was revolutionary and like what was wild. So TiVo introduced me to Friends and Seinfeld and like so many shows, Frasier, that I discovered because I was able to just record them and then have a big stash of them. But I think also people that are younger than me won't like know what it was like to never watch anything in order because you just got what you got when you got it. So you got whatever Frasier episode you got when you got that Frasier episode. They didn't necessarily go in any given order. I think maybe TBS would every once in a while put them in order, but and they would also have like certain episodes that were the most popular. So like you see certain episodes of Friends like way more because they were the most popular episodes. So they have them like 4 times to every one other episode, So like I kind of got scattershot exposure to Seinfeld and Friends and Frasier, and then the Another big one for me was The West Wing. When
Mm.
I was a senior in high school, my high school AP Gov teacher, who was my mock trial coach and had a very positive influence on my life, he had like the DVD set of every West Wing episode. And so I remember like my senior year, second semester senior year, not much going on. Senioritis is in full swing, and I would basically come into school every day, and during the AP Gov class, he would give me a DVD disc from his big box set, and I would bring it home. And it usually each DVD had like 4 episodes on it, and I would just plow through those one disc a day. And I did that for my second semester senior year and absolutely loved it. And I'm in the minority on the West Wing who thinks that my favorite season of The West Wing is season 6 because it has the primary election process and it has some fun like cross politics outside of just the actual White House. So yeah, I love The West Wing. I mean, then the other like DVD sets were a thing. I also had the Seinfeld. So when I was undergoing chemotherapy treatment, I got all of the Seinfeld DVDs, and each season had like its own box, and each box had like 4 or 5 or 6 DVDs in it. And this was before they would have like the hospitals that you would go to. I went to one of the best children's hospitals in the country. It did not have Wi-Fi. There was no internet for people. This was in 2005, 2006, around there. And so like that wasn't a thing. So basically you had a DVD player, and whatever DVDs you could bring in, that's all you could watch, because it's not like there was cable TV and you could watch anything under the sun when you're in the hospital. So I would work my way through the Seinfeld DVDs, and that was a very good kind of mindless show to watch. Not mindless, because it's very, as Robin Akiva would tell you, it's filled with intricacies and funny humor and like deep, clever, intellectual, smart humor, I would say. But it's I love that show. And then the other thing, my mom and I, who was often with me in the hospital setting, we would plow through the Game Show Network. The Game Show Network was, I don't know if it still is around. I hope it's still around.
I think it is. I just don't think a lot of people have cable anymore.
The Game Show Network was where it was at. Game Show Network was phenomenal. So basically, I had so when I was homesick from school, which was the vast bulk of the first year where I was getting treated, I had like a regimen of TV. I would wake up, I would watch Live with Regis and Kelly. Then I would watch Ellen DeGeneres, back when everyone loved her, myself included. I would then watch The Price is Right, old school Bob Barker, and then I would watch whatever was on the Game Show Network for like the next several hours, because you're just trying to occupy yourself. You're home from school and there's not you can read and whatever, but TV's fun. So when my mom would join me, we would watch the Game Show Network. And so Lingo, if anyone remembers Lingo, Shark, like Card Sharks, Old School Family Feud, where
I
Richard
love
Dawson,
Old School Family Feud.
Oh yeah, I love Old School Family Feud too, where Richard Dawson, I guess, he felt the need to kiss like everyone. I watched that. The Match Game, all of these, yeah, so good. I love the Game Show Network.
What was the game show like? You went on to a game show, but what was the first game show you ever wanted to do?
Good question. I mean, I used my wish. You get a wish from the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So one of some fun facts for the listeners. I have not seen season 42, episode 4, or season 42, episode 5. I stopped after season 42, episode 3. But I've heard what happens in episode 5, which is my boot episode.
As someone who was also there with you when episode 3 was on, I also don't think you watched the whole episode of that one.
No, I did. I watched it before.
You did? I thought you went to watch a hockey game or something.
I watched it twice. I watched it 1.5 times. So one of the things that was edited out that didn't make it into episode 5, I don't think, is I had a conversation with Chanel on the beach right before we were about to go to tribal council. And I basically remarked to her, like, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, it gives wishes to kids who face a life-threatening illness, not just kids who are terminal. And so I was lucky enough to get a wish and thankfully live, continue living. And my first choice for my wish was to be on Survivor. And they couldn't do it because of law, obviously game show law. And so my wish that ultimately was granted was to meet the Chief Justice John Roberts of the United States of America, which was amazing. I absolutely loved that. And it was the perfect use of the wish. But I remarked to Chanel, like, how lucky in the world am I that I've literally had two dreams come true, like two lifelong wishes come true. And that was one of the more profound moments I think I had on the show. Didn't make the air. I tried to convince them to let Make-A-Wish use it as footage maybe for their outreach to like families and whatnot. I don't know if it was ever successful, but basically I should say though that I left out the second wish. So it was 1 was Survivor, 3 was meet Chief Justice John Roberts of the United States of America, who, again, perfect use of my wish. Second was to go on a game show spree with my mother, and to the two of us, because we had watched so much TV, so many game shows over the course of the year and a half that I was sick. Well, 3 years that I was sick, but it was really like a year and a half where I was really sick. We watched so many game shows, we thought, why don't we just see if we can go on as many of them as we can, and whatever we win can go to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So we were like ready to go on Lingo, ready to go, like ready as in like we were willing. It's not like they had reached out to Lingo. Like there was no way that was ever going to happen because of game show laws. But that was the second, because of how significant game shows were to us during that period of time, that was kind of next in line after Survivor. So that was maybe if I'm lucky one day I can go do that. I can be 3 for 3, because it never got past 3. I never had to decide what wish number 4 would be. It only got to 3. So I've got 1 left maybe, but that's yeah, I love game shows. Still love game shows. I do the Wordle every day. Maybe that's the lingo.
I haven't done Wordle in a hot minute, but it's coming back. I feel like I've seen a lot of people bringing it back.
Yeah.
Did you ever do any of the like other Wordles, like the Marvel Wordle, the Star Wars Wordle?
I did not. I should have, especially the Marvel one, but no, I kept it to just the OG Wordle. I'm up to I think I have a streak of 55 right now, which is not great, but it should be longer because I got signed out of my account or something and lost the streak before that.
Yeah. One of the many reasons why you were robbed of a reunion in Los Angeles was because it's the same building as The Price is Right.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh!
Pretty sure. Awesome. I think it's the same building. From what I've never been to a live reunion, but from the people that I know in LA that used to go, I'm pretty sure it's the same building. And then you could have like skipped your reunion to go to an episode or something. I don't think they changed it, but yeah. So I who would, just out of curiosity, who would you pick for your Family Feud team? Whether it's like friends of yours or your wife, your brother, who would be your Family Feud team?
So before Mo or after Mo? Because it gets more complicated after Mo. I'd say before Mo, it's easy. It's just like my mom, my brother, how many? It's 5 people, right?
5 people. And you'd be the captain, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I would be the captain. So, or my mom would be the captain. So my mom, me, my dad, my brother, and then the 5th is where it gets interesting. Probably my Aunt Julie, because she was extremely supportive over the course of my cancer treatment. So she would be like number 5. She would clinch number 5. Although I bet you my grandparents, either one of them, would have been good at this. Now post Mo, I mean, you gotta bring your wife. That's like a no brainer. And then it's like,
she'd be really good at it based on like her.
Oh, she would be.
Knowledge.
Yeah, she would be very good. She would be very good at Family Feud. And then what's this thing? Do most people like stick to one side of the family, or do most people like try to mix and match?
I feel like lately people blend it all over. Like any type of like family is a stretch. Like you could probably like bring Zach Wurtenberger and be like, he's my family.
I would love to bring Zach Wurtenberger. I mean, if I was doing
I'm surprised they're going to go on Family Feud next. Watch.
Love Zach Wurtenberger. Yeah, so probably like and then you get like the question of the in-laws and whatever. So I'll just leave it to imagination. Who knows? But I have a great relationship with Mo's family, so it would be splitting hairs between their family and mine. For family, I'd probably just go with the people who would do the best, which would sorry, Dad, he would axe you from that. Not for lack of love for you, but from lack of I don't think you'd be that good at the feud. Billy, my brother, would be extremely good at the feud.
Okay. Yeah, no, I played a board game with my family over the Thanksgiving break, and I love my dad, but my dad was not good at it. He's not good at like quick thinking, like on your feet. Like put a clock and he's done. Now, you mentioned like the DVD players. Did you have one of those? Like my family used them for airplane travel, the little portable DVD table laptop things.
Never for airplane travel. So I'll confess something to you about airplane travel. I don't know, I don't do this anymore, but back in my high school and college years, I think probably more college and high school, if I was going on airplane travel, I would buy a movie on Amazon, or there was usually a way to like buy a movie.
iTunes also.
Yeah, possibly. Something like that. There was always a place like you could buy it, and then it would usually be too complicated to download it via the mechanism, so I would just like find it on the internet. And I figured since I purchased it elsewhere, I can just get it from this and download it to my laptop, and then I can watch it on my laptop. And that's what I did. So I bought it from source A and I downloaded it from source B for airplane flights.
But you supported the creatives. You didn't just
obviously. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Of course. I always paid for the property that I consumed. But sometimes it's just like it's hard to download a thing. At least it was back then. It still kind of is to do that sort of thing. And that my iPhone is like kicking me out of storage every day. It seems like that.
I feel like the iPhones, like I try to like wait at least 3 years before I get a new one, but like they like make it in a way that like your battery dies faster and faster.
I think they like tell you to download new software that takes up more space than the old software. So it just eats up more of your space, and then it forces you to get a new phone to get more space. That's I don't know. I have no basis for that other than my own anecdotal experience.
I think that's a strong theory. Now, while we're on the topic of game shows, is this where we want to talk about Survivor, or do you?
Sure. We can give it a 5-10. I mean,
and also like, feel free to talk about whatever you've wanted to talk about. You don't have to spend too much time talking about Survivor and your experience. Whatever you want to talk about, go wherever.
Related to the theme of the podcast, I mean, like Survivor was a very valuable show to me during my cancer treatment. It was a thing that I watched. It helped me through it. I think this story's been well told on the Survivor TV show in the first episode that I was on in the premiere. It was just a source of support. I remember watching what was one of the many. I mean, I just remember watching many particular seasons. Like season 20 really stands out to me for many obvious reasons. Nicaragua, for whatever bizarre reason, stands out to me. Was very impactful. I'd say like the seasons that like, because Survivor fandom ebbed and flowed, but for me it peaked. I mean, it really went through the roof when I started getting callbacks from casting, and then it was like season 31 on, it's like studying it. But when it was pre-season 31, I was just like watching, it would ebb and it would flow, and some of the like peaks for whatever reasons, like Nicaragua, season 20 is obvious. Cagayan is obvious. I really loved San Juan. I'm a San Juan del Sur fan.
Well, I think 27 to 29 is one of the strongest runs in the show's history.
Yeah, San Juan del Sur was not well received at the time, if I recall. I think because nothing was going to live up to 28. But it was still really freaking good.
29 might have my all-time favorite moment when Natalie plays the idol on Jacqueline and takes Baylor out. Like I remember where I was, and like that is like I wasn't there for the Parvati gives two idols like moment. I wasn't there for like some of these, so that was like mine. Like and then the Sarah Lacina vote the season previously was spoiled to me. The Rocks was spoiled.
That's my favorite episode of Survivor ever. Is the Sarah Lacina boot episode in Cagayan.
It's a great episode. I just got spoiled because I was stupid and like checked my phone before watching the episode. Back in high school, like I sometimes would stay late at school because I went to a mostly boarding school, even though it was a day school for me. So I would stay late to like study and then like go home late, and so then I wasn't always able to watch live. But that's a great episode of television. But that Natalie moment is like lives rent free in my head. That's probably my favorite all time moment because I remember like the blind side, like it was like a double blind side because like she plays the idol on Jacqueline. And then you think, oh, Missy's going home because Missy's convinced she's going home. And so, anyways, rest in peace, Keith Nail. Like that was one of the ones that hurt.
Yeah, what a legend.
Anyways, not to make this about me because this is your podcast, but you were talking about 28 and like your ebb and flows of Survivor.
Yeah, so I think probably the most important takeaway from Survivor is just like it helped me through a very difficult time, and that was the primary reason I wanted to go on the show to begin. I mean, the number one that now that I am married and paying more bills than before and whatnot, I can understand the primary motivation being money, and it should be for the very, very defensible and the most obvious. But for me, I really wanted to for me, it really was the chance to basically live out, I think, a childhood dream for myself. As I said, it was like a wish that I had proposed to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and then really just to fulfill the promise of basically having been immobile in a hospital bed for a long period of time, not like paralyzed or anything, but like just very weak, and then going into that sort of situation. It was something that I'm very glad that I did, and hopefully. So I got some messages from sick children while the show was going on, and it was that I'm very glad. Hopefully that made any form of help to someone out there. So that's what I would say about the Survivor experience. One of these days I do want to write, I think for myself, maybe to never be read, or maybe publicly, my own long form essay on my Survivor experience. So that TBD, don't hold your breath if that's coming out in a year, 2 years, 3 years, because I've got a lot going on. But that's kind of my next big Survivor project would be what I would want to
like a personal essay, kind of like what Julia Carter did.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I respect Julia Carter doing that. Yeah, I think something along those lines. Yeah.
Would you say like the messages from the fans that like you impacted positively was like the best part of the experience?
That and
I mean your premiere party was lit.
Yeah, the premiere party was fantastic. I mean, that and the actual experience was pretty amazing. I enjoyed. Yeah, the experience. I was extremely emotional on the boat ride going in. It was a very you got to understand that there was a time where I was watching the show and thought like I could die. So then you're on the show. It's a big deal. It's a very, very big deal.
I know you're not watching this season, but like the two people that I'm close with that like have done it are you and Brandon. And like I can imagine based on what you're saying here, like you probably had a similar reaction to like the first shot we see of Brandon is him like crying, like meeting Jeff on the boat, or like being like just like having all the emotions hit him. And like I can understand like because you think about it daily before, especially when you're in the process of going through casting. I have to imagine you're like just thinking about it nonstop, like all these different scenarios. And the show is monumental to your personal story. You're not only a fan, but this is like such a core part of your identity and like where you were versus like achieving like with the time and distance from it. Like there was probably like a point that you, like you said, you never thought this was necessarily going to happen. And then for it to happen, especially like, at least from what I remember, because that season's kind of foggy, because once you got voted out, I kind of did check out. But like, I feel like I remember like there was like a hassle to even get you all to Fiji with COVID.
Yeah, there was a COVID outbreak very shortly before the season started filming.
Yeah.
So it was up in the air whether it was going to happen. From what I gathered, it was like we basically were all on a plane solo, us and Survivor handlers. So, and even though the whole plane was free, only the cast and the handlers, like some people still had to sit in the middle area. They didn't have a window. How sad is that?
What's your preferred airplane seating while we're on this topic?
It depends on international or domestic. If it's a domestic, I prefer an aisle seat. If it's international, I prefer a window seat. Because I prefer on the domestic to get off the plane as quickly as possible upon landing. But if I'm going to be on a plane for a long period of time. I don't want to have to worry about getting hit by people walking down the aisle or the like cart. And I like to be able to fall asleep without having to worry about that. So the window's the way to go there.
I'm always a window for that reason exactly. I feel like I get hit all the time by the cart. I had a middle seat today when we flew back.
Yeah.
But what did you
Yeah.
have for Fiji?
To Fiji, I had the win. So we were told our seats, we can get to choose, and I lucked out with a window seat. Poor Chanel was in like, there's like three seats on the left, three seats on the right, and then three in the middle. I think Chanel was in like the middle. So
Oh, no.
she got like no. That's all I remember.
But you got the row to yourself, or no?
Person had their own like three, group of.
Okay, so you could sprawl out at least.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a very fun experience. I really enjoyed the pregame stuff. That was a blast.
Is there anything else you want to talk about Survivor?
No, let's save it. I was supposed to do a deep dive with Rob, but then I got canceled.
Okay.
I'll do a deep dive with you at some point, but like first I gotta write it.
No,
myself.
yeah, you gotta write it, and if it's in 10 years, we'll circle back in 10 years and do it.
Yeah,
that being said,
it's not gonna be anytime soon, I'd say.
Can the Brazilian Dragon podcast get the exclusive of what your life almost was if you went on a different reality show, or no?
Oh wait, you mean Big Brother?
Yeah. Can we talk about that or no?
Sure. Like, yeah, I don't care. I mean, I've seen one season of Big Brother, so I don't care. I mean, I guess the exclusive is,
or like the multiverse where you're on a season of Big Brother instead.
That probably never would happen. But like when I came real close for Millennials versus Gen X, I didn't get the call, but then I got a call I got the call saying you're not on the show from a wonderful casting agent who's a very kind person who I like dearly. But then I received a call a few weeks later, and was offered. I don't think you never know. They don't even if they say we've got a spot for you. They might not actually. That might not actually be true. So basically, there was interest in maybe putting me on Big Brother, and I just said no. I wasn't interested because I had to go to law school and I can't just take off. Mm-hmm. I was willing to take off some time to go on Survivor when I was employed for an employment or whatever, and 7 weeks finite, but like much longer to go on Big Brother. And so I turned it down, but I'm glad that I did, because from what I understand, from what I've heard, I have very little evidence other than rumor mill and what I've heard and whatever, is that the person they got to fill that spot was a guy named Victor, who I think met his wife. Yeah. So basically, I'm very happy that I said no. I'm very happy that this couple has met. I think they have kids or something.
They have at least one kid. I don't know if they have multiple.
That's great. That's so wonderful. Like I'm thrilled. Congratulations to them. I hope they also enjoyed Big Brother. I didn't watch the season, but
Nicole won. So
she did. Oh, great. Okay, there's a college fund for the kid. Amazing. Okay.
Well, yeah, we don't have to like do the Nicole Franzel Big Brother history. I actually have a lot of respect for Nicole Franzel as a player, but a lot of people don't respect her because they don't like that kind of game where she's very like self-preservational. I don't know. I respect her, and I thought it would have been hilarious. She was almost the Sandra Diaz Twine of Big Brother.
Oh wow!
She's played like 3 times, won her second, and then now she's with Victor. And they went on The Amazing Race. I don't know if you saw the season.
Oh, I did see. I love The Amazing Race. I would do The Amazing Race in a heartbeat. I love The Amazing Race.
With your brother or with someone, or with Dr. Mo?
I do it with my brother. I don't think I'd risk it with Mo. If I did it with my dad, we'd both kill each other. So probably the winning combo would be my brother and I.
Yeah. I would definitely do it with my brother. I think my mom would be more likely to get us cast, but we would again kill each other. Because my brother's very like normal and boring, and but my mom is like insane, and I love my mom. But is there any other like reality TV that you watch? Like, you're not a big like Squid Game the Challenge person?
I loved Tough as Nails season 1. Yeah, and I love
that's one of the ones I never checked out.
Yeah, and it reaches a point where there's too many shows, so like you don't, especially in peak TV era, so you stop watching shows even though they're great. And that's one that I've stopped watching, but not because it's not great. It's because there's so many, there's too many shows.
Then
Yeah, and then you add that, like, you have a job and stuff, and it's just like there's no room. There's no room for like the hours upon hour. There's too much stuff. There's too much good stuff out there. So basically, but I love Tough as Nails during the pandemic. I watched the season one and just loved it. And then Mo and I are currently watching the latest season of Great British Bake Off, which
I've never dabbled, but I
I
hear that's so wholesome.
it's really good. I find it incredibly soothing. I watched, so they gave us a when each of us was in quarantine, they gave us some TV. We each had the same like hard drive of stuff. I think I don't think they discriminated in content that they provided us, but they had a season of Great British Bake Off on there, and very soothing, just incredible. I had watched it before quarantine, but it was a very soothing show. It's just calming. But this latest season though, very good. But like, I think anyone out there who's following, like Dan should have gotten. Spoiler alert, but like Dan should have been eliminated a few episodes ago. It makes no sense. I'm baffled by the decision of the judges, but maybe someone can explain that to me one day, what's going on there. But yeah, love Great British Bake Off, love Tough as Nails, but my main ones, at least as of now, the only one in my like list of shows I'm currently watching is The Amazing Race. And I think it's is it Robin Corey?
Rob and Corey.
I freaking love them. I want them to win so bad. Dude, I have never been as invested in a team winning The Amazing Race as them. And don't tell me what happens in the latest episode because I haven't seen it.
I have only seen the first 2 episodes because I was waiting to watch it with my mom during Thanksgiving, and we only watched 2 episodes. Yeah. So like I think I know like a couple of the teams are left, but I am like very far behind. They're still in
love Robin Corey. Love Robin Corey. So pull it, but that's it. That's the only that I guess that and Great British Bake Off are the only two and I have Daniel shows that I watch alone, and I have Mo shows that I watch with Mo, and both of those are Mo shows. So I guess we watch reality TV together.
Was she a Survivor fan before she and you started dating, or did you convert her?
She watched a little bit. I wouldn't say I converted her. She like appreciates it, but she doesn't. I wouldn't say like it's not for her. No.
Yeah. Not a hard pivot from reality TV, but like comic books. Let's circle back. So like you also love superhero movies, so like we can kind of like umbrella this. Like so we can either take this like the comics route or the sci-fi like fantasy route. Where do you want to go? It's your choice.
Let's start with comics and then we can veer into fantasy. But so like I'm one of those people who in my generation got hooked on comics via movies, not like comics then movies. I went movies and comics.
Yeah.
And so as when the Iron Man trailer came out when I was in high school, no joke, the first thought I had was that looks so stupid. It's like that looks so dumb. I'll admit that. But then, obviously we've spoken at length about the MCU, so I don't want to dwell on it too long, but like that got me into and then I was more of at start I was more of a DC guy, and I read a bunch of Batman comic strips in the New 52 until the Marvel Cinematic Universe like really started to hit, and the DCEU was not, I think, doing it as well. And so I switched over, and I didn't do like different characters so much as I did lines. So I really enjoyed, I did every Civil like even all the offshoots. There's like 50 gazillion offshoots, and I did all the offshoots. I loved Avengers versus X-Men. The Infinity Gauntlet series. I don't know if that's the exact title of it, but like I kind of knew going into, and I remember watching right before Infinity War. I saw it at a movie theater in a mall that had a food court, and one of my best friends from law school, I went and we got Taco Bell in this food court. We're about to go into Infinity War. And I'm like, dude, this thing might happen where like this is what happened in the comic. I read the comic, and in the comic he snaps, and then half the people go away. Like that might happen in this. Who knows? And then it turned out to happen. I was like, I was thrilled. So, so the movies got me into the comics, and I wish I could say I kept up on the comics, but they became very expensive, and then also they all disappeared.
From your iPad.
If someone out there could seriously help me figure out how to get all my comics back, I'd appreciate that. That would be, and I think to get to the kind of the source code of the podcast, the media made me of it all. Like I think I was very into comic strips, as many people are, in comic book movies, as many people are my age, when they are going through like youth and high school, college, law school, even, and like they're in their origin story of themselves as a human being, right? So there's a resonance there that I think at some point in your life, sadly, fades, and there's less of a resonance as there once was. I think I have found, but like the best origin story really hits when you are that age. And like for example, I think the single best origin story ever in a comic book movie is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And man, oh man, oh man, does that just hit? That hit real hard. That and like probably Batman Begins is another contender for best origin story. But like I loved and still love, but I love the origin story. Love the origin story at that age.
And you're a big
and then
original Captain America fan as
yes,
well.
Captain America, the original Captain America, one of my favorite comic book movies. I love the line in basically I'm going to look up very quickly. I think it's Bowles, Professor Bowles, Captain America. Is it Erskine? What's the name of the guy played by Stanley Tucci?
I used to know this.
I love his.
I feel like
I love his character.
Yeah, Erskine. I think.
Is it just Erskine?
If it was a couple of years ago, I could have.
Abraham Erskine. Okay, so Erskine Bowles. I was thinking in my head Erskine Bowles. Erskine Bowles is a famous, I think, a famous politician who came out with a plan called, along with another politician called Simpson Bowles, for how to deal with the deficit and the budget and the debt. That was actually the talk of the town back in 2012 when people cared about that sort of thing, but not as much anymore. So anyway, I guess I confused this economist / politician with Professor Erskine from Captain America. But I love that character actually in the OG Captain America. And I love his monologue that he delivers to Steve Rogers the night before he takes the super soldier serum. I think it's a phenomenal, one of the best monologues in the entirety of the MCU. Mm-hmm. And there's just a lot in that movie. It's a fantastic movie. I think underrated.
I want to circle back to like the concept that of the origin story, because this week, so I think I watched for the first time, because I only remembered Batman Begins, the Dark Knight trilogy. I did one.
Okay.
I did one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday, and then like Friday, like I split Dark Knight Rises in two pieces. And I feel like watching these movies, my hot take is I think Batman Begins was my favorite, because I think the Joker elevates Dark Knight. But like I feel like there's like stuff in it that makes it, I don't know. I really appreciate Christopher Nolan as a filmmaker, but I also think that some of his movies can feel bloated in a way that like if he shaved a little bit off, it would like be more impactful. But my big concept is like your favorite superhero between like the big three: Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. Like I feel like says a lot about who you are and like what you value. And like, because I feel like Spider-Man was my guy growing up, and I feel like he's very impulsive. He's very like empathetic. Not that the other two aren't, but I feel like that's my like. I need to like think about this theory a little bit longer, and I feel like there's something there that I want to explore. Maybe I'll write a piece about it. But and you're a Batman guy, is that like of the three, or like maybe you're like a secret like, I don't know, Martian, the Manhunter. Manhunter.
So my favorite, actually, this is a deep cut, but when I was reading comics, my favorite comic book superhero, actually it's not a deep cut anymore given Guardians 3, but my favorite comic character when I read comics more religiously was Cosmo the Seafaring Space Dog, who for both Guardians 2, I kept my fingers crossed that they might bring him out, but then they finally did in the third one. But that was my favorite. I mean, of the three that you put forward, I don't know if this dodges it. I think Batman is the most entertaining. I think Superman is who I would admire. I admire the most of the three, and it's not close on that probably. And then Spider-Man is who I relate to the most.
Yeah,
So
I
I
could
don't know
see
if
that.
that actually answers the question, but
I
that's
don't know. Yeah,
something
I
brief
need to
about.
like explore this theory a little bit more before I
Mhm.
like because it's still marinating in there. But I
Yeah.
also did think also Batman versus Superman versus Spider-Man is very Survivor Worlds Apart. Um, so in terms of the comic books,
Yeah.
you also this might I don't know if you've ever spoken about this on a podcast or this was like
Mhm.
to me privately, but you're like you at least at one point in time were reading Calvin and Hobbes nightly,
Oh
which is
yeah.
my
I
first
read Calvin and
introduction
Hobbes.
comic.
I read Calvin and Hobbes every day. So I
Yeah,
read. That isn't to say I like read multiple of them every day. There is a website called. I have it bookmarked. Let's see. Um, Calvin and Hobbes on Go Comics, and I've gone here every day and read every Calvin and Hobbes strip one a day for like I don't know, like going back to when I was in high school. So that would be I graduated 2010, so that's over probably 15 years I've been doing that. And I'm touching it right now. I have the complete Calvin and Hobbes series. So even if Go Comics goes down and disappears from the internet, I have in physical
you're
print
you're
every
prepped.
single Calvin and Hobbes. Yeah, I'm prepped.
Yeah.
I'm totally prepped. Yeah,
Um, right next to the Calvin and Hobbes, you also have the Harry Potter collection. It looks like.
I do.
Uh,
I do.
so,
I do.
were
And
you
I
ever
should
like? So
one
you're a
more
big
thing on
reader.
I wouldn't say I'm a big reader of like weeklies. I
Okay.
read a lot of weekly commentators, but I mean I'm a big reader of Calvin and Hobbes. I've been doing it for 13 years. I should say one last thing on this. I have a folder in my Google Drive that has it's called. I mean it's several subfolders deep, but eventually you get to it, and it's favorite Calvin and Hobbes strips. And I every time so when I go to the Go Comics webpage on any given day, if I think it's like I love this one, it's a favorite, I take a screen capture of it and then I put it in this folder. So it looks like I've got, I don't know, like 30, 40 in here. And I've got, I guess over time I'll just accumulate all of them. And maybe one day I'll end up having, and I save it by the date. The file name is the date. So there's like, let's see if I have any for November. Actually, I have two. Today's November 27th, and there are two from past years, I guess, that were published on November 27th, both of which are favorites in there, but not today's. Today was not one of them. But anyway, that's a
Was today's
fun
bad?
fact. No, today. Let me see what today's. No, it was good. It just
Okay.
wasn't like it doesn't like to be a favorite. It's really got to like. I mean,
Hit.
they're all good, but it's got to hit in some way, or just like relate to me in some way. So that there's a lot of interactions he has with his dad, that I love and I relate to. Whereas so those if it has something that reminds me of my own childhood, I'll save it down. It also fun fact they say that it's set in Chagrin Falls, Ohio, which is where my brother lives. So it's a fun like nod to my own family that the Calvin and Hobbes strip is kind of set there.
What got you into Calvin and Hobbes? And like, do you remember or no?
My cousins who I grew up in Cincinnati. My cousins lived in Dayton, so we spent a lot of time together on family outings and whatnot. And I had an older cousin who had a few books, and I think I just picked one up and read it when I was visiting him. Or he just like was one of these people who didn't keep track of his stuff, and he just like might have just left it at our house one time. Not that I purposely stole the thing, but he would just leave it. And I just read it while he left it there, and probably gave it back to him the next time he was there. So that's what initially got me. Like I for the life of me, I can't remember what um how I found gocomics.com or whatever, but it's a great website. I don't think it's limited to only Calvin and Hobbes. I think they have lots of other strips on there. But yeah, and then it's just become a regular habit. I do it every day. I just always make sure to read the Calvin and Hobbes. It doesn't take long, and it makes your day better.
Do you have a preference between the two of them, Calvin and or Hobbes, or you love them both
Definitely
equally?
Calvin. No, not equal. I mean, I love Hobbes, but like Calvin's the best. I love
Did
Calvin.
I wait? I don't know if I've told you this story. So my dad wanted to name me Calvin or Linus after these cartoon characters, and my mom was like,
Yeah,
absolutely not. She like vetoed that, and then wrote down 5 names on a list and was like, okay, you can pick one of these.
yeah.
uh,
I'm assuming Felipe was on there, and there wasn't some sort of like extrajudicial
no, so
process.
they wanted to name me Pedro, but then my
Okay.
initials would have been PVC, and they didn't want that, so then they changed it to
Because of
Felipe.
PVC pipe or something?
Yeah, they just were like, no.
Okay. Okay.
um, and then my brother's name was also on that list, and then so that's how he got his.
Cool.
Um, but I think that's like a fun little anecdote since you like Calvin and Hobbes. Were you a Peanuts guy also, or no?
No, no, I
Yeah.
think I read a little bit of Zitz, but it was really just Calvin and Hobbes is the only thing that stuck.
Yeah.
And I think, when I was in middle school or high school or whatever reading these, like they're just funny and fun. But then you going and studying political science and whatnot, like you do see a lot. I mean, it's Bill Waters. Is it Bill Watterson or Bill Waterston? But what he is, I mean, some of the ideas that he gets across, yeah, Bill Watterson. Some of the ideas he gets across in such a short period of, just 3 panels or whatever. It's wild.
I
it's
remember even as a kid, like when I was 9, I was like, this is very philosophical and deep.
Yeah, the concept of Calvin Ball as a legal matter is like replete with applications. It's really, really, really good stuff. Very good stuff. So love Calvin and Hobbes.
And then so in terms of your bookshelf, we have Harry Potter there. Like, were there any
Uh,
like fantasy and sci-fi? Like, what are your favorites? I know you mentioned Rivendell, your Lego set. Also, like, if you want to like tangent off into Legos, I know that's a big part of like I guess that's like entertainment, pop culture. I feel like that's like a big part of your identity as well.
yeah. So I I built a lot of Lego as a kid, and I accumulated a lot of them. And because I was a very organized child, for better or for worse, I just maintained a lot of them. They didn't like fall apart or get scattered or whatever. And I did some of my own creations, but for the most part, I was like a build the instructions, let it sit guy. And that was all well and good. And then I go off to college and law school, and I'm not doing it as much. I also don't have the disposable income to do it, let alone like um, spare time or whatnot. But then my parents decided to retire, and they said all these Lego sets they need to go away because we're not bringing them to Florida. And so I went home um, to pack up all my stuff, and I had to deconstruct all these. And for a long time, like they were in just I have a huge like bin of all the sets, and I've since like uh, cataloged it in a Google sheet, so I have my collection and whatnot. But it's my ultimate, and so I took possession of these things again, and I just kind of got back into it. Um, Around, yeah, I'd say COVID is when it really struck again. Although I was building before then, but it was like one set a year sort of thing. But then when COVID struck, it's like a perfect thing to do at home and have all these sets. So my ultimate goal that I don't think I can currently do now, but my ultimate goal is to just build every set that I have and also reconstitute it, because every one it's like missing one or two, not many for what it's for. I'm kind of proud that like some of these I got when I was in third grade and they were missing like only three.
Yeah.
But it's easy to get replacement parts. But I say I can't do it now because I do not have what I would call enough Mo approved space to like do that. She's very patient, and the Rivendell set behind you sat on our kitchen table for a long time. But it finally reached a point where she's just like, "This
When I
needs to go
visited you
somewhere
in
else."
Connecticut, I think you had like 4 sets on the table at one point, right before that was like
Yeah,
still while you were like packing.
yeah, yeah. The problem though is that once you build them, they really are unpleasant to take apart,
Yeah.
and so you need to be in a physical location that has sufficient space to display
Yeah.
all of them in a Mo approved way. And I don't know if that's definitely it's not this house, but maybe one day. Although I don't want to ever leave this house, so basically, I don't know if this dream will ever come true. Maybe I'll buy like storage space somewhere and just store built Lego in there.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how heartbroken would you be if any future kids of yours hate Legos?
I wouldn't be I wouldn't be heartbroken. They
Yeah.
can love what they love. As long as they have something to love to do that is not going to harm other people, unless
That's a
it's
great
like
viewpoint.
football or
Uh,
something, and then they're harming other people, but in a controlled way. So
yeah.
there you go. Yeah,
Um, and then in terms of like the fantasies and sci-fi stuff, so you
yeah,
mentioned Star Wars. What is your
yeah.
favorites of these? Are there some that you're like you don't get the hype? Like what are your where do you want to go with this topic?
So I have never. So I'll throw it out there that I've been saving. I've not delved into the Wheel of Time, and I want to one day. It's like I feel like I would probably love it a lot. But I mean, I'm a standard. Like I've got Harry Potter here. I have um, A Song of Ice and Fire here, and Fire and Blood here, and then I would say I also in high school I loved the Orson Scott Card um, Shadow series. If anyone remembers this or read this, that was awesome. I remember reading that in high school, and that's kind of like
Oh, I vaguely
that's
remember
science.
these.
Yeah, that's science fiction more so than it is science fantasy, and we can discuss the differences between science fiction
There's
and
like
science
hard.
fantasy.
So I listened to the Holderness Family podcast, and Penn Holderness is
Yeah,
like obsessed with like hard science fiction and has discussed like the differences many times. So I
yeah,
think I'm familiar with it, but like I'm sure you have
yeah.
like your own take on it that I'm
I don't
curious
know.
about.
I mean, maybe you could explain. My understanding is like hard science fiction is um like it is within the realm of possibility that
Yeah,
it exists in our own world and could exist in the future. Whereas like
that's how
science
I understand
fantasy
it.
violates the laws of nature.
Mhm.
And then there's low and high. In my understanding of like high science fantasy and high science fiction is that it's in an alternate universe. It's like a whole other world. Like I guess technically Harry Potter would be low because it's in our world, but the song, who cares? It's kind of like, do you enjoy it? Does it make you think
Yeah.
about things? Then yeah, go for it.
Have you ever dabbled in the Percy Jackson series?
I haven't. I think I missed that. I think that was before me.
That might have been.
Or-
Yeah, the new show is coming out, which I'm like very excited for. Like, if people thought
Yeah,
my personality was annoying when I was like obsessed with like Glee or Survivor, like they got another thing coming because this is like my like
I watch a I watched a couple seasons of Glee, by the way, but
yes,
I was
you have
never a
like a
Glee.
surprisingly high amount of like teen shows that you've watched compared like that like we've discussed like between
I
that
do.
Never
I
Have I
watched
Ever.
every episode of. I watched every. Oh, I love Never Have I Ever. I love Never Have I Ever. It's
Agreed.
fantastic.
It's
Love
I
that.
think
Yeah,
it's still
love
my
that
favorite
show.
show of the year so far. Let me check.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
still my number one show of the year.
Yeah. Mo and I enjoyed watching that. Yeah, and I was an old school Desperate Housewives watcher back in the day too. That was another one that
That's one I
I
need
feel
to
like
get
is.
on. Like I
I
love a
don't
good
know.
soap opera.
I think you could probably skip that one. That was of its time. I don't know if that survives peak TV
Maybe,
quality.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
like on the
yeah,
list, but it's like low on the list.
yeah, yeah.
Um, now, are there any like law projects, like law movies or shows that you love that you're like, since you have such a fascination and love of the law?
The single best um, TV show to represent accurately legal practice is Better Call Saul, and I don't think it's close. And one of the judges who I clerked for had a law clerk, so someone in my law clerk family who was a legal advisor on that show. She's had one of the coolest careers of all the clerks who's clerked for this judge, I think, and she did a heck of a job because it really does accurately portray stuff. Um, and then in terms of movies, the single most accurate, I think, is the movie Dark Waters with Mark Ruffalo, which is a very underrated movie. Very, very good movie. But in terms of like legal favorites, I mean, I love My Cousin Vinny. I love A Few Good Men. I
Great
love
movie.
Philadelphia. Um, gosh, what are some other Lincoln I consider to be a law movie, even though it's not a legal drama or a legal thriller like Courtroom, but like Lincoln's in my top five. I love the movie Lincoln. Uh, yeah, but I mean, probably in terms of like legal drama, courtroom thriller. Oh, obviously, To Kill a Mockingbird. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, I think A Few Good Men takes the cake for me. I used to watch it every single night before, as good luck. I would watch it every single night before a mock trial match in high school. So I've just seen it so many freaking times that I think it will always have a special place in my heart for that reason.
Only because it's relevant to me since I'm watching it. Did you ever dabble in the Suits?
I did. I think I watched like 4 seasons and
Okay.
then bounced. I can't recall why, but I didn't have any reason. I don't hate it. I also don't love it.
It's
It's
more of a
there and
soap
it's
opera than a law show.
yeah, and it's not really about yeah, it is. It has zero. It's very inaccurate. It's the opposite of Better Call Saul, but it's fun, and like most doctor shows aren't accurate either, so who cares?
Yeah.
I think people realize it's probably not like the way legal practice works, and it's more. I think it's not really a courtroom drama either because it's focused on staying out of court. I think is what what's his name?
Harvey, yeah.
Harvey.
Yeah, they try to
Yeah,
settle
yeah,
as often as possible out of court, but then sometimes you go to
yeah,
court.
yeah,
I love the courtroom episodes. Like I love a courtroom drama episode or
yeah.
movie. Like again, My Cousin
Mhm.
Vinny, great cinema.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic.
Now I do know we are winding down on time. I
Mhm.
feel like we could probably do a part two at some point if you're ever down.
Yeah,
But is
we
there
need to.
anything else that you
You know
want to
what we
hit
should
on?
do? We should at some point we should do a Christmas. Maybe not this year,
Oh
but
yeah,
like
you
we got
mentioned some
Christmas, we
Christmas
got
episodes.
Halloween. We gotta do like
Holidays. Well,
I actually think you and I share a tradition, which is Mo and I. It's a terrible tradition for what it's worth, but Mo and I for 4 years in a row watched a different Halloween town every Halloween for 4 years.
yep,
And
we did that on the
then I
Brazilian
learned
Dragon podcast.
later, that you were also doing this. And I was like, why? Why would anyone else subject themselves to this? This is
Listen,
so, these movies are so bad.
the green screens, so funny.
No, just for the, like, yeah,
And then like they like
yeah,
get
but
rid of characters as they go on. They completely recasted Marnie in the
yeah,
last one. Like
yeah,
the millennials and Gen Z kids like really struggle. Like that's like disrespectful to us. Like that is one of the most upsetting things in my childhood. Like they recasted this woman for reasons unknown still.
Marnie, they don't know why the
Well,
reasons still haven't come out.
it's like hinted at like for whatever reason, but like no one's like been like this is the official reason. It was like kind of like
Hmm.
a lot of like different people at play. But I just like
Yeah,
it's I don't know. It's not like where we can like trace it back to like oh they said something or they did something. This is why. Like it's
yeah,
just kind of like who knows? Like it's very
yeah,
unclear. Um
yeah. Well,
yeah,
in
but
my when I keep track of the movies I watch, and in my movies, I have a little note blurb for each movie that I watch, and I think,
you basically have your own letterbox without being on Letterboxd.
yeah, is that what it is? Okay. Well,
Letterbox is like a social media basically where you like discuss movies and like rank them and like leave a little review, but you have it just on your spreadsheet.
yeah. Oh, really? Okay. Um, let's see. For Halloween Town High, this is one of the worst movies I've ever suffered through. It took everything I had within me to stay awake for the whole thing, which Mo and I only labored through so as to keep our Halloween tradition going, which maybe we should evaluate tradition for tradition's sake. It is a sign of Mo's love for me that she watched this. Also, Marty sucks. Is that too mean? Am I too harsh? I wrote that right after
No,
watching.
you. I don't know if you listened to the podcast that I did with Kate, but Kate like hated some of like we love the movies. We're probably higher on the movies than you are because like
Yeah.
this is probably like a little after your time versus like this was like
Yeah.
at the height of our youth. But um, I have one-sided beef with a lot of characters, so it's fine.
Yeah. 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 Well, I do like a good movie watching tradition, and Halloween Town is as good as any. Well, no, it's not as good. There are plenty that are better, but
Are you
it
looking
was a
for
good one to have.
a holiday movie? Because let me recommend. Uh, it's a Hanukkah movie, but Full Court
Okay.
Miracle. I love it. It's about this
Okay.
Orthodox Jewish boys' school in Philadelphia who get
Okay.
coached by this basketball player who's trying to be on the 76ers. And it's like
Okay.
wholesome. It's like they try to like use the story of Hanukkah as like a motif and a theme. I had never seen it
Okay.
until 2 years ago, and I gave it like a 5 out of 5. But also, I just really enjoyed it. And then if you're looking for the ultimate Christmas present, it's fine. Good Luck Charlie, it's Christmas, but that's like a spin-off movie of a TV show. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think any others. I
In
mean,
the
like you could watch the Rugrats Christmas episode or the Hey
Oh
Arnold
yeah.
one.
Oh yeah. In the year 2020, I tried to do with I made a list of 25 Christmas movies and called
I,
it like Daniel's 25 Days of Christmas or something. And I emailed it to a few friends in my family. And I'm like, I'm going to try to watch one of these every day for day 1 through 25. And I did not succeed. I think I got like 12 or 13. I'm not ever going to try to do this again because I don't think you should like force feed yourself 25 Unless you're really digging it, then go for it. But
this is not going to happen. No one get excited. But a couple weeks ago, I had this harebrained idea to do 25 different podcasts talking about a different like episode of like the Pokemon Christmas episode, the SpongeBob Christmas episode, and like drop one a day. Needless to say, that is not happening. Maybe I'll do one or two, but like, it was harebrained at best.
Yeah, I will say like different movies mean and you get different things out of them over in different periods of your life. I used to get nothing out of It's a Wonderful Life, but then I watched it the last few times. I've loved it, but in particular, last year when I watched this movie, I was like, this is top 5, man. This has got to be in my top 5 favorite movies ever now. It's just like rocketed its way up to the top. Something about like, I don't know. I love that movie. I can't wait to watch it this year.
I love holiday movies. And like I said in my voice memo to you, Halloween movies can miss me. Like, I'm not a horror guy, but I love holiday season. Like, I want to get a Santa hat this year just because, like, I don't know, the holidays just make me happy for whatever reason. Like, it's just like
good
sense of fun. Good. But I do know you got to run. Do you have any plugs quickly? And then also like a pop culture plug. Speaking of the holidays, your Substack?
Oh gosh, I have no plugs. I'm not writing anything, so I won't even plug the Substack.
You're not going to do one this year?
Oh, you mean oh no. So like I'm not actively writing on the Substack, but I do a holiday email update.
Oh, okay.
Via email.
Test me out.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to like subscribe to my personal holiday email update that they just get from my personal email address, reach out to Felipe and he can set you up.
Tweet at me.
Yeah. But in terms of personal plugs, I got no socials. I got nothing. I'm just enjoying living a quiet life, spending time with family and friends. And you, Felipe, who have been a wonderful friend and wonderful source of support. I love the fact that we get to do these every once in a while. So thanks for having me. It's been fantastic.
Always. Anytime you want to do part 2 or talk about anything, live action Avatar. I don't know what post-show recaps plans are.
Yeah, I would love to cover that. I don't know what's
going on. Did you see the trailer?
With that. Oh, it looked really good.
The production design, cool. Chef's kiss.
Yeah, it looks really. I'm psyched. If they do that well, that will make for some epic TV. If they do that well. Yeah.
Got to be better than M. Night Shyamalan's thing.
I mean, that's the lowest of low bars. But they are definitely going to do that. The question is, can they make this like Game of Thrones in its early seasons level good, and then also stick the landing like that? That's what they're dealing with.
I feel like they have to juggle so many moving parts, like keeping it kid friendly while also like, but like I feel like there's grittiness that can be explored. Like one of the reasons I love Korra was because it went into the grittiness of like, she deals with PTSD, and I'm like, oh, this is like interesting. Like it's a little bit more adult, so I'm interested to see what they do. But I know you got to run. But I definitely will be texting you offline about this because I have some
for sure.
What should people watch? Like, what's a Daniel recommendation for? Is it To Kill a Mockingbird or something like, or A Few Good Men? Like, a pop culture plug?
Oh gosh, let's see. What would be a good? I mean, it's Christmas time. Go watch It's a Wonderful Life. And then for like an old school throwback, everyone knows to watch It's a Wonderful Life. But what about like one they wouldn't know to watch? I think I think some people in the know that Klaus, Klaus, is an amazing Christmas movie.
So
good. But it's not widely known enough. It's like one of the best Christmas movies.
I watched it like December 2020. So good. The animation is so great. Like I didn't know anyone else watched that besides me. So thank you.
Yeah, I love that Christmas movie. It's a great one. I'm gonna watch that one this year for sure.
Yes. Convert a friend to a Klaus fan. Or Klaus. Yeah. With that said, follow me on social media at With the Fleet, Brazilian Dragon for my TikTok and comedy stuff. Thank you so much for joining me, Daniel. And I am so excited to keep doing these, maybe a part 2 one day.
Yeah.
Podcast. But until next time, everyone, obrigado for listening. Goodbye.
See ya.